is Hangout with David Zinman. David is one of the great internationally renowned conductors and just a world-class person, a great person to work with and also to talk with. And I have the pleasure to spend this session with. David is the principal conductor of the Tonhalle Orchestra in Zurich, with the role of showcasing Zurich's musical heritage to the entire world. And he very much supports sharing music also with the younger audience. Especially, he does it with great enthusiasm through the means of the well-known Tonhalle Late concerts, and also by supporting the TOZZ, which I am director of. TOZZ is a new platform for the provision of projects for and by young people in association with the Tonhalle Orchestra Zurich. And now we also welcome, of course, all the participants who are already here. And make a first preview for next week. What will come this week?
This week is we're doing an all Wagner concert in the Zürcher Festspiele, and it's the theme of the festival is the Wanderer, and of course Wagner is the ultimate wanderer, especially Wotan, who is one of the characters in the Ring cycle, but also Flying Dutchman was also a wanderer, and so on. So we have a wonderful program of Wagnerian music with excerpts from Rheingold, Daffodamarum, and Fliegende Holländer.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I hope you will also join.
That's Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday, evening. Good. And young people are also invited.
Absolutely.
Good. Perfect. So let's start our questions, I guess. So the first thing is, I wanted to print all the awards and all the achievements from David Zinman, and the printer would not stop printing, I think, until about 24 pages. And then I thought, well, when you told us on your birthday, there's a story with your violin case, where you thought it's not a violin in there, but when you opened this case, did you think that you will once achieve so much that you'll have 24 pages of achievements?
No, I was trying to get out of it most of the time. So, I mean, you know, I was extremely disappointed that when I opened the violin case that there wasn't a machine gun.
Yeah.
Because I had hoped that, you know, I could have a machine gun like it was in the movies, you know, run around with machine guns. So it was a real disappointment was when I had to start studying the violin, because it meant that the only free day I had in the week, I had to spend taking lessons. So that was hard for me. But somehow, you know, and I started playing the violin, and then I got really hooked on music. And after that, I found out that that's what I could do best in my life. That's to make music, play, but also to conduct. And I started quite young as a conductor.
I saw that.
Yeah. And this was something that intrigued me. And so I always wanted to see how far I could go. And it's just one thing led to another. And here I am now, 76 years old, and still doing the same old thing.
So you're saying the same old thing. Do most people listen to Beethoven and Mozart and Haydn? And do you also like to perform contemporary work for artists?
Oh yes, that's the most interesting. Yeah. Because what's great is to create something that has never been done before. And the dots are new on the page, you know, and you take them and you say, what can I do with these dots? And how can I make it? And it's very important to listen to that everyone plays the music itself. And although an orchestra is in a way a museum, it's also a contemporary museum. And so we have to have that kind of thing. You not only play Wagner, but you have to play, you know, John Adams, whoever the composer is. And I think it's the most important thing that I can do, and it's the most fascinating thing. because nothing, I can't listen to a recording of it. I'm just creating it from the page, and that's really exciting.
And when you interpret these artworks, how far can you go? How much can you change from the original meanings? How the composer meant it?
Well, the composer usually is a very fine musician and knows what he wants, and he has worked very hard to put down what he wants on paper. However, the real sound can never be quite imagined. So when they get to hear it, they're usually excited and shocked at the same time. And a lot of things they thought sounded one way sound another way, sometimes for the better, much better than they thought. So it's a great process, and it's a process that composers learn throughout their lives. They learn how best to create what they need to create, how to build structures actually with music.
Oh, this is brilliant. So when you get one of these new pieces from now and today, then how long does it take you to study it, and when do you think can you start working with the orchestra?
Well, usually, if I have a new piece and I get it in time, I'll spend anywhere up to a year with a new piece. But it depends on the amount of time you have, and sometimes you're forced to learn something very quickly, which is not the best way, but you're forced to do that. But usually I try to get into it. Let's say I plan to do a new piece 2 years from now. So, and the composer delivers it, let's say, a year in advance. And most of my weeks I do other things, but I always spend a little time in the day working with that piece, trying to imagine what it sounds like, and putting it to my head, so that it becomes part of me. And if the piece becomes part of me, I put it very confidently.
So I saw Vivian, you asked a question. Would you like to ask a question again?
Yes, I would like to ask David whether there was a crucial event that made him take the decision to become a conductor.
Yeah, I think I was bitten by the bug quite early on, and I had the first chance to conduct an orchestra when I was 13, and because I went to a very special high school here, called the High School of Music and Art. It's a little bit different from the high school that used to be in the film Fame. I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's a special high school in New York, which was free. You auditioned to get in, and so on. And this orchestra, this high school had actually 8 orchestras.
Really?
Yeah, and the best orchestra was called the senior orchestra, and I played in that orchestra when I first got into the high school, because they took the best players and put them in that orchestra. And one time they decided they would have a concert where student conductors from the conducting class, who were usually in the 4th year, could get to conduct. But they didn't have enough conductors, so they decided to audition from out of the orchestra a conductor. And a friend of mine who sat next to me in the viola section, he said, "I'm going to do that. You could do it." So I auditioned, that unlimited audition, and I was chosen. And that started the ball rolling, and after that I was there.
Well, actually, you select future conductors yourselves, as I understand, because you give these courses, conducting courses, right now, I think, at the moment in Zurich also.
Yeah, yes, the other day we just...
Yes, exactly. I was wondering, what do you think does it take, or how do you recognize that somebody has the potential to become a great conductor? Yeah,
this is something I think that most musicians can see from a conductor. They're used to, understanding what the gestures mean, and so on. But a person has to have this kind of charisma and ability to communicate with other musicians. And that's what determines their talent. They can have all the skills, but if they don't have that ability, communicative ability, it's not going to happen for them. And but it's also a question of getting experience throughout your life and becoming the best musician you can become. And some composers become very fine conductors. Other pianists become conductors, or violinists, or cellists, or flute players, or trombone players even. And but they have the ability to take a piece of music and, with their gestures and with their whole soul and body, communicate to an orchestra. And that's what it takes, actually. And that's what I try to recognize in the people who I teach. And my job as a teacher, of course, is to diagnose a little bit what they're doing, what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, to encourage them. It's to teach them, the speeds, to teach them about the music, to teach them, what the traditions are as well. And, that's what you do, but that's what any teacher does, any football coach does, So it's identifying talent, actually.
So what do you do if someone is not behaving well, if they're moving around? Is there something that you do then?
You mean as a teacher to them?
Yes, as a teacher to them.
Well, my mantra, I have a mantra, it's don't talk. Okay. So, the less people talk to an orchestra, the more they show through their gestures and through the body language, actually, the better conductors they will be. An orchestra hates to be lectured to. Even if it's interesting, there's only so much they can take as people. They have a set amount of time where they have to perform a concert. Usually it's 3 or 4 rehearsals. And in that time, you have to cover the whole program, and you have to get them to have the feeling that they know the piece by the time you do the rehearsals. And if you spend all your time talking, they're not going to play it. And the most important thing, of course, is to play the music.
So they are always behaving well and never fool around and never talking.
Of course they do.
Fantastic.
They do, of course. I mean, musicians are famous for fooling around.
Are they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and there's all kinds of jokes going on in the orchestra and so on. But when we work, we're focused. So if a conductor doesn't give people time to talk to each other and to fool around and just conducts, he has a better chance of putting it together himself.
That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I have a question. Can I ask something? Do you hear me?
Can you ask again?
Can I ask you? Do you think you can learn conducting? Is it like a craft? I mean, can you learn, teach conducting like a craft to students, apart from having a good feeling for music?
Yes, of course. I think it can be taught. What can't be taught is the charisma that you can't teach anyone. They have to have it. And, but a lot of people do have that. So you can teach them the best way to do things and how to solve various problems. So, conducting is a little like, I'm sorry, your ambulance is going by, but or the police, they're coming to get you. But conducting an orchestra is like driving a car. Anyway. You learn to drive a car, and you learn what the best way to drive a car and how to stop it, how to corner, how to do these things. Or it's like riding a horse, You have to learn how the horse goes, how to lead it, how to encourage it, how to slow it down when you need to. So those are things I think that can be taught. And also, I mean, there are rules of ensemble and how to make balance and so on. And all of these can be taught. But what the most important thing is the charisma and the ability to communicate. If they don't have that, you can never teach them.
Can I ask you something? I realized that among the 200 that you chose for this conducting course in Zurich, there were 2 women and 4 men. And this is quite a big percentage of women compared to how many great conductors there are. But I'd like to know, what do you think? Is there a difference between how women conduct and how men conduct? And is there, do you think women could also be really great conductors?
Yes, I think women can really be great conductors. They are different than men, as we know. You know, and of course, people grow up all their lives being conducted by men. But yes, I think there are very good women conductors, and maybe one of the so-called great conductors will appear and be a woman. So I don't make any difference between women and men. It just is that there is a larger percentage of men conducting than there are women. But many, many, many more women are now doing it and doing it successfully. And so I think the future will see many more women, I'm sure. You know, there already, you know, when I was a young man, there were no women in orchestras. You know, New York Philharmonic had no women. Boston Symphony had no women, and it was a great event when a woman came into the Boston Symphony. And then, and even now, I mean, it's a great event when a woman comes into the Vienna Philharmonic. But it happened, and now I would say the majority of orchestras throughout the world are at least 50% women. So that's a great thing. And so therefore, I'm sure the percentage of women conductors will increase.
Do you think there is also a kind of a change in the way that orchestras are conducted? I think of, for example, there was like 50 years ago this big Theaterstreit in Zurich where the orchestra put up a strike because they didn't want to be conducted by this great conductor who was kind of a dictator. Do you think that the times have changed?
You know, in the old days, conductors were absolute dictators. You know, they were like potent kings and so on. And that has changed. And I think musicians now realize that they don't want to be treated like children and whipped and beaten up. And they can still have their jobs and have a conductor who at least respects them and doesn't treat them like little children. And this has changed. I mean, when I was growing up, we had conductors like Toscanini who screamed and yelled, and the one you're talking about, Otto Klemperer, here had a big fight with the opera orchestra and Tonhalle orchestra. And those days are gone. And we're all happy about it.
Is that part of, because it's written on your homepage that David Zinman makes music a better world. Is that part of how you make music a better world by being like more human conductor?
Well, I hope so. But what I meant by music is a better world, music is a better world.
Okay.
When you can steep yourself in the great composers and be involved in something like playing in an orchestra or singing in a chorus or being in an opera company or working with the arts, in any of the arts actually. I think it's a better world than the one we really live in, because the one we really live in is pretty terrible if you look at it, you know. and see what's going on in the world. And music is, in a way, takes you through time. You become a time traveler with music. You can feel what Mozart felt in his veins as a human being in the early 1700s and later on. So and so we can travel back in time to the time of Bach, or the time of Monteverdi, or the time of Verdi, or the time of Wagner, or the time of Bruckner, or right now with architecture. But it is a great way of leaving, let's say, the problems that we have behind. And it's a good way of meditating.
So to these words, to these sort of awful words sometimes, Vivian is asking the question, do you think a computer could conduct an orchestra? She's asking.
They keep trying that. Yeah. There are computers that have conducted orchestras, but pretty badly. A computer can't do, this. It can't kind of encourage it just going, or flashing lights or something else like that. But they did build a kind of robot that tried to conduct an orchestra, and it doesn't work. But now they're also looking at interactive things where you get an orchestra that will play, and through the computer you can change the speed, you can change the balance a little bit on your computer. So this will happen, I'm sure. What we're doing now is just the tip of the iceberg.
But it can be never as good as a real conductor.
I think it's the same. I think when you're in a room with somebody and you're feeling their presence, it's not the same unless we have holograms that really you see in three-dimension people, but it's still not the same. So I think human beings will always continue to interact with each other, I hope.
But that would be good. So a hologram, and then in 300 years, people could still watch you and
That's right.
conduct orchestra. That would be a project for coming next year, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's tricky, though, to have a hologram on the podium, because you have to hear in real time what's happening in order to adjust to it. So there would have to be some sort of great computer that will project your hologram and enable you, as a conductor, say in a room somewhere, to hear the orchestra at the right time and to react. But it will come, I'm sure. So I never have to leave my house. I could conduct an orchestra here from my bathroom, sitting on the toilet,
With the same enthusiasm.
That's right. Well, maybe not. Depending. Sorry.
So I saw, Vivian, you had another question. Is that one answered, or do you have the next?
I was just going to say, you could record your style, in a hologram, and then you could teach people in 200 years' time. You could teach your style. They could learn from you then, because maybe then.
Yeah, but we already have YouTube, where you could see everything.
I watched
Conductor already on it, who's ever made a film. So it's already happening, actually.
So about conducting and teaching conducting. So how was your last week? You had your new conductors, and did they perform well?
Yeah, I think everyone got a lot out of it. I think the young conductors, there were 8 conductors, and we did 4 pieces. And they got to work with a soloist from the orchestra, Andreas Janke, who played first movement of the Sibelius Concerto, which is a rather difficult movement to conduct. And they got to do the Bartok Concerto for orchestra. They got to conduct the Schumann's Second Symphony and the Mendelssohn Midsummer Night's Dream. And I think, what people get from this eventually is how one feels when he's conducting a first-rate orchestra that can actually play the music and play it very, very well. But what happens is, after you've had the experience, then you go away and you remember what it felt like. And then let's say you're going to your own, let's say, Maestro orchestra, and you try and bring that to them. But also, I was able, anyway, with each of these 8 people, to look a little bit to what some of their problems were, and maybe how they could get over it. You know, one conductor, for instance, I was trying to get him, he was intense, but it wasn't an inner intensity. And the orchestra feels inner intensity. They feel, they can see superficial intensity, but they will feel and play better with inner intensity. And I was trying to show this conductor how to give inner intensity. And so I got to demonstrate that, and then he can see that and assimilate it and take it home with him, and maybe over a couple of years internalize that and come up with it and begin to think about it. And each conductor, I gave them at least one little food for thought over the 2 days, and that's where we're at.
That's perfect. So now we're slowly coming to the end. So could you just give us an outlook for the next year? So what would be the highlights for the coming year, or probably 2013?
Well, 2013 is a couple of very important anniversaries. One is the 100th anniversary of the Rite of Spring of Igor Stravinsky, and I was fortunate enough as a young man to be there for the 50th anniversary performance of that, conducted by my teacher, who conducted his 50th anniversary performance of it. He conducted the premiere in 1913. And we're going to do a very special concert just around the time that it was premiered 100 years later, and we're going to do like the first half of the concert, how the piece is written, a kind of, you know, theater piece about it on the first half, and then we'll play the piece on the second. But we're doing many other really exciting things next season, and we're starting off the season with Tchaikovsky Festival. We're doing a lot of 3 symphonies of Tchaikovsky, and the piano concerto and the violin concerto, the Rococo variations for cello, the overtures, and yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on here and there. I can't name it all because I'm still working here now, and I don't like to think of the future. I like to live in the present.
Okay, so thank you very much. This would be then the end of this broadcast. Thank you very much, you all, for joining. It was a pleasant afternoon. And you say goodbye?
Goodbye. Bye.